Hello, and welcome to Two Spodes, a podcast about motocross racing with Jake Williams and myself, Bayo Olukotun. This really started off as a way of us just connecting and catching up with each other and just BSing about motocross racing and the sport that we love. And we figured, why not share it with the rest of the world? Each week, we'll discuss racing from around the world, supercross, motocross, MXGPs, sand racing, maybe some stuff from Indonesia or the All Japan motocross series. We'll also discuss riders, bikes, tracks, dirt. Why not? It's dirt bike racing. We can talk about dirt. For this episode, we introduce ourselves a little bit later. But first we get into some digressions about Deegan, the Deegans, Tomac, and just how superhuman he can be, and Sexton and how incredibly enigmatic he can be. We'll get into the dangers of motocross, the athleticism required to be a motocross racer, a professional especially. And of course, we'll introduce ourselves and reminisce a little bit. As for the show's name, if you're a little younger, weren't around in the 90s, 2000s, a spode is really just a rider who thinks they're a lot better than they actually are, which generally describes Jake and I pretty well. So we figured it fit. Hope you enjoy.
Hey, back.
Yeah. doing the guns, both hands.
Yeah.
Didn't Webb do that at some point? He only did the single finger too.
Yeah.
Single gun.
Yeah, Webb started that. If I was Webb, I'd be pissed. I'd be, hey, dude, you need to do something else. That's my thing.
That's mine.
That's mine.
Not
I'm
original.
the
You
shooter.
think you're original.
Yeah.
Not original. I don't know.
Whatever.
Deegan, I would say he's sandbagging, but Stewart stayed in the class probably a year longer than he needed to. Did you see the whole press conference at the beginning of the year, just them talking about their goals for the year or whatever?
Yeah.
And he was saying he had unfinished business. I think he thought he was going to win them all and just won the first, he won the last three, but he didn't win the opening round. So that's out the door. So I think his whole unfinished business will never be finished, because I think that's what he thought. He was going to have a perfect season. He never said it.
Well, I thought by then that I thought he meant more he needed to win the SMX title. The whole kit. Yeah, I guess he did win it the first year. Yeah, you're right.
Did he win it 2 years? He won it 2 years in a row.
Or maybe he just wanted to take Kitchen out one last time.
Well, Kitchen took himself out 3 times in a row, so
I think Kitchen and Sexton must train together. They have the same. They got the same.
Tuck the front end. All right, this is where. So let's practice our tucking right now.
I think it's the psychiatrist that's messing him up. I'm pretty sure that Sexton hit the gate in the third moto. It's, dude, you're way beyond.
He almost did. Yeah, he jumped a little bit. I don't think he actually hit the gate, but he got a terrible start. Yeah, I think that's the problem with both of those riders, is that they should be winning. I think if Kitchen could get out of his own head, I think he would be faster than Deegan. I was actually thinking about it. He reminds me more of Jason Lawrence than anybody since then. I mean, I feel his riding style is pretty similar to Lawrence. I think his natural talent, Kitchen's natural talent, is just through the roof. It's just a matter of controlling it. And, I think unlike Lawrence, Kitchen lacks some of the confidence that he needs, but his talent is just, I think it's unmatched. I don't think there are too many riders that can do what he can do on a bike.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest issue is that Lawrence didn't hold back and he would get super high before every race. And I think maybe Levi Kitchen needs to do that. And then he'd probably start winning. He needs to smoke a bowl, man.
Light it up and just calm down.
Yeah, exactly.
Little stank dog influence.
Yeah, it works for Pilo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when he starts messing up. Is when he isn't.
Yes, he's too sober for the races. Is get that guy a doobie.
Or relax a little bit.
Let Sexton hit that thing too.
Yeah, seriously. Well, yeah, let's stay on 250s.
Oh yeah, the team manager for Deegan's team. I read an interview with him, and he was saying that people probably think that Deegan is really hard to work with, but he's on it. He said he's 100% the easiest rider he's ever worked with because he just wants to win. He does whatever he's told with no back talk. He stays later than everybody, works harder than everybody. And he says that the whole persona of him is just an act and he's just killing it at it. And I think it does work for people like Kitchen is no matter what Kitchen says, Deegan's in his head, and Deegan is in everybody's head because he's so easy to hate, and he does that on purpose. It's all a show and it's kind of, it works for him. He can back it up, but his bad boy image or whatever you want to call it is just a show, and he's nailing it.
Oh, absolutely. He clearly does the work and is in incredible shape. But I mean, he learned from one of the originators of it, his dad, who was so amazing. I mean, he was a really good rider, just racer. He was crazy fast, but his ability to get in other people's heads and always, just talk crap on anybody. He didn't care when he was racing. And then FMX, he brought it was WWE, WWF, professional wrestler type mentality of just creating enemies when you didn't even need to, or they didn't even know that was a thing. They're like, wait, why are you talking crap on me? Who are you? Why do you have spikes on your shoulders?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of afraid of you. I mean, and I think they do it better than anybody because nobody even expects that. They don't realize the Deegans play a game that nobody else even realizes is happening. And they're just so good at just doubling down. I mean, he passed it on to his son. When Haiden gets that little bit of pushback, he just doubles down. And there are the little times when he gets humbled, I think, a little bit. But even when it came to SMX finals last year with Shimoda, I think some of the theatrics and just dogging somebody on the track, and I think he was being a little dangerous. I think that is where it bit him then, but you would think that would have humbled him a little bit. But instead, he just brushed it off. It was nothing. I mean, he's already had so many successes. It wasn't really a big deal to him. And he's keeping at it. He's talking shit on people. He is by far the fastest guy. And he doesn't even need to be saying that stuff. And he's still doing it. It's great.
Yeah, it is.
I hate him for it. I hate him at times. Just stop being a little brat. But
it's funny because I think that things do affect him just by his interview in the last race. He mentioned the fans actually cheered for him because he gets a lot of boos now. A lot of people boo Deegan. And so you can see he's probably like, oh man, I have a lot of people cheering for me this time. That feels good, And, it was just a funny comment, he does care a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, of course. He's a star and he wants to be famous. He wants to be a star and he wants to be liked, even though he thrives on that being a little bit, towing the line either way. Some people hate him, some people love him, but he thrives on the attention.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I think as soon as he realizes it's working and it's actually playing in his favor, it's like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, he's only 20, I guess now, and this is his fourth pro year, maybe. And I think he's going to be, regardless of where he goes from here, he'll be one of the most famous, most popular riders probably in history. just because of his ability to, he has his dad's theatrics and he can back it up, with his speed. And that's what people like. I mean, look at Plessinger, if we're going 450s. If you go back to his 250 days, there was no cowboy anything. He didn't have an accent. It's all a show.
Yeah.
It's entirely a show. If you go back, you can watch old interviews and stuff. He was just another guy. I mean, he was definitely playful and stuff, but I think it was his last year on 250s. He started going all American, and I think at the Nations he dyed his hair. He looked the American flag or something, and he just fully went into that cowboy thing. And then when he finally went over to he did it quite a bit when he was on 450s with Star. And then when he went to Red Bull KTM, they fully just leaned into it. And it's a whole thing. He's one of the most popular riders, and he's won, 2 muddy supercrosses?
Yeah. For
that's
sure.
it. But people love him.
Oh, yeah. When he did it for Dale,
Yeah.
That was like,
That is his, he's probably makes more money than, some of the guys that are in front of him, because he's so marketable. That's what so many of the riders just don't get is, if Tomac wasn't as just straight up good as he is on a bike, he wouldn't be making that much money, I mean, obviously, but he just doesn't get the whole theatrics of it, that it's entertainment.
Yeah. He doesn't care. That's the thing.
He doesn't care. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the 250s were good. It was a little bit of a yawner, but at least that first race was a little bit of a yawner. But then Kitchen showed what he can do a little bit. McAdoo kept it up. He looked good. Actually, I think MC was in the last moto, whatever they call them, heats. He was actually kind of catching Deegan a little bit towards the end. I don't know what pace, Deegan claimed he was only going 70%, which he definitely was going more than 70%. But there's nothing way of getting
30 more percent.
It's going 110 minimum.
That track was gnarly. I mean,
It was so fast. It was too fast.
It was fast, and if you made a mistake, it cost you so much time. It was, it was really. It was pretty interesting watching Roxon try to reel in or trying to pass Cooper and just not being able to do it. It was pretty. It was just. I think the track was just hard.
Yeah, definitely. I think. The track was just. It was too fast. I think they learned. I think they learned some things from this race in terms of building a track in that type of floor space. It was too fast. I think it needed to be some slower sections. But yeah, the 250s, I think because of the power difference, if you messed up a section and the other, the dude that you were battling greased it, the ability to just gun it on one of those straightaways was, you just can't get up to speed as quickly. So you lose all that momentum. And that's, I think, why the racing wasn't as good in the 250s. It was just, I think there's more of a separation in terms of, the depth of the, the top riders, but they just couldn't, there was no making up for it. If you screwed up, that was kind of it. But the 450s, it was just good racing. It was awesome.
It was, there was good battles all over the track. It was good.
Yeah. Who did you call to win?
I thought Tomac was going to win it again. I mean,
Tomac?
that's how I put on my fantasy team.
On your fantasy?
I had Webb in second because I knew he had to have a good race, and I thought he was going
to.
And I just figured, he has to, so he's going to do it. But he ended up winning, but he wouldn't have had Tomac not made that mistake.
That's true. But Tomac he's crazy fast, but he can be, he has his weirdo races. And he said he actually hit the rear brake. That's why he went down in that second race.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
said he drug it a little too hard.
Yeah, I had Lawrence for the win.
Oh, really?
He had it at one point.
Yeah,
and he looked good. I mean, he finally at least got essentially a heat win, but at least he won a race against these guys. So it shows to show himself that he can do it. I think he's close. That's I think 3 second places in a row now.
Yeah. But that's kind of his thing. I mean, he should just be number 2, you know.
Mr. Second place.
Like, get that guy at number 2.
Yeah. Hey, can I have your number?
Yeah, let's swap here. That was the Cooper Webb in the final race where he missed the finish line jump and kind of swerved off. And I mean, he was 6 inches from his season being over, and then he ended up winning the race. Did you see that?
Oh my God. He was 6 inches 3 different times. Almost just died himself crashing. And then somehow 2 dudes, I think, jumped over him.
Oh man, one landed. I think it was Sexton landed right next to him.
So close. So close.
But
That's where
he just kept going. It didn't even phase him. He just kept on charging, which was good because he you know, it worked out. He got the win. But that's what's crazy about motocross. I mean, literally, if he was over 6 inches more, the season was over, and whoever landed on him, season was over too.
Done.
But
yeah, that's what I keep thinking about. You know, just the dangers of Supercross. You know, it's funny. The more I'm away from actually riding myself, the more I realize how dangerous it is. You know, the more I think about it, and just being able to, they're just threading the needle for 20 minutes at a time without a single mistake. You know, they make mistakes here and there, but to be that precise over and over and over again is just, I don't think it's something you can fully appreciate until you at least do a track walk or something where you see how little space these riders have to make an error. It seems dangerous enough just walking the track. And then the idea of actually riding on it and then racing on it is just, I can't imagine ever doing it.
Yeah, and not to mention, typically when you get to do a track walk, it's smooth. You know, they're doing that when there's ruts and just this rut. I mean, it's insane, you know, that they're everything about it. Go out there and look in a track and how deep those ruts are and how just everything about it. You're like, man, that's so gnarly. Like, even when Deegan did that move on Kitchen where he kind of cut across the ruts, just if I hopped on a dirt bike and just tried to ride across those ruts, I would eat shit.
Crash.
I wouldn't even
2 seconds.
Yeah.
I've been riding my whole life. I would crash. I know I would crash there.
It's just, here's what you said. It's such precision, and they're able to do it for 20 plus laps. Just bam, bam, bam. You know, just.
Yeah, with all these other
crazy.
elements or other people, the crowd cheering and other people, you know, jumping around them. It's great. It's crazy. Yeah, you definitely. I give them a lot of credit just for being able to do what they do. I think it's one of the most dangerous sports in the world.
Yeah, I don't see how it couldn't be. You know, I think
there's other things that you can risk life and limb with, but doing it around other people, you know, there's, I don't know, skydiving or something, or rock climbing, but you're not doing that with all of these other pressures that are coming up every 2 seconds, every split second, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think that's why, for me, I'm a big Roxon fan, because that guy's nearly died, you know, and he's still just out, he still charges it. I mean, I have so much appreciation for any of those guys that have these crazy, I mean, most of them, almost all of them have had a pretty serious crash at some point in their career. And to be able to just block that out, I mean, that part of it is incredible. Barsha, for instance, he's going to come back and race. I would have thought after that crash, okay, it's time to retire, but he's ready to come back and race, you know?
Seriously, think of the riders that are out there right now. Tomac dislocated both shoulders at the same time in Colorado. What was that, 10 years ago? Fully just, his shoulders were done. And then recently tore his Achilles. That is usually, your life changes after that. If you've torn an Achilles, you're not going back to what you used to do. And he's racing at the top level again. Everybody, I saw it happen. I was like, oh, that sucks. That was his last race. Whenever that was. What was that? 2 years ago, 3 years ago now?
2 years ago, I think. Yeah.
Was that 23? Was that 23? Maybe.
I don't know. Time flies.
Time flies, but he's back. He came back the next season. It's insane.
Yeah, and was fast.
Going fast. And now he's he's in the points lead right now. And Roxon with his arm, and then which they haven't replayed that crash for a while, but they did a lot
for years.
Years. And every single time I see that crash, I just cannot imagine the pain that he was in, and just how crazy, but just the wreck itself was just insane. Yeah, and who else? They've all had these insane crashes. And
Malcolm Stewart.
Big injury.
Malcolm Stewart dislocated his shoulder. Got landed on from a guy jumping a triple
right now.
And he's racing and doing 2 top 10s after a football player jams his thumb and he's out for 2 weeks or whatever. Anybody that tries to say that, I need out. You'd be a Band-Aid. But it's crazy. They're all just nuts.
He broke his femur. He broke his femur. What I think when he was on Moto Concepts, was that 2020, 2019, something like that. That would be, most guys would never go back to being at whatever level, to being at the top level of any sport. To break your femur is extremely. I don't even want to think about it. I've never broken one myself, fortunately, and I don't want to. And it's got to be one of the most painful things you could ever experience. And here he is racing again at the top level. And just got landed on less than a month ago. Dislocated shoulder and broken. It's insane. You know what? Speaking of our buddy Pilo, I don't know how many crashes you were around of his, but I witnessed many. And he still would come back, and it was as if he'd never crashed. Once he was healed up, be right back at it. It would never even ever crosses his mind
That's the end. It crosses a lot of people's minds when you see big crashes and stuff. For instance, with Barsha, I was 100% sure that was it. And there's no way he's going to race again. And then, as soon as he could talk, he can't wait to be back out there. You're like, Jesus, dude.
It's crazy. I think it's just what they know. He's contracted to do it. I think that's he's one of those guys that I think that's just always it's just the way he's wired.
Yeah.
That it's just a part of it. He did say that was probably the worst crash he's ever had. But the ability to just put it out of your mind. I think I saw some interview with Hunter Lawrence talking about injuries, and maybe it was our competing podcasts, Gypsy Tales. Yeah. He's like, who are you guys?
You don't know this, folks.
Dude. But I think talking about just the ability to put it out of your mind and the consequences that you're facing. And it's definitely something that I don't know if that stuff came to your mind when you were riding or racing, but there have been moments when I've had trouble putting it out of my mind, I think, because it's such a abstract concept of what the real consequences are, and until it's super real and you're experiencing it.
Yeah, for me, it was when I raced, I thought about that stuff all the time. And so I had to wait until I would always be the last person to the gate, because if I'm sitting at the gate, if I get there 30 minutes early, then it's 30 minutes of me thinking of every possible negative thing that could happen. But so I would just get there when they're calling us up to the gate. And that was the only way otherwise I'd trip myself out so bad, just thinking of, oh my God. Because in my class, when I race, I'm racing at that time I was probably 30 or not even quite 30. I was probably 28. So I was really old racing the C class, and those kids are, most of them are 14 to 18 or whatever. They're just, they don't care about anything. They don't even, and I was pretty good for that. I was one of the fast guys in the C class, but down in Southern California, we're hauling ass. You're going fast. And so a lot of times in practice, I wouldn't even jump half the jumps, but I'd get a good start and it would be, oh shit, I got to jump this jump, you know, and there was many times when the race was the first time I jumped the jump because it was, okay, jump this or you're going to get killed, you know? And one of my most memorable ones was at Racetown 395. There's this huge step up in the back section. Well, first there was these 3 tables that were pretty decent sized tables. And then there was that huge step up, and I would always just kind of jump up onto the top, up onto the top. But
one of the biggest jumps that I've ever done. I've done some big ones. That's one of the biggest.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever jumped that was in a race because I was leading, you know, I was just like, holy crap, I got to just go for it. You know?
And I've never even gone up to the plateau up at the top.
I had jumped up to the plateau, but even that was really uncommon. I mean, I'd probably done it a couple times, but in the race, I just launched that thing even a little bit too far because I was just like going so fast. I remember Don coming up to me, oh, dude, you know, he was pumped that I jumped it. And I had no choice. I had to jump it. But that was, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's, I think that's, you know, going back to pro racing and stuff, and especially in Supercross, the ability to be in say a rider messes up a rhythm section or something. Does that, you know, maybe the average level, their ability to adjust to that and then jump double or a triple in a way that they haven't done all day. You know, you'll see them make up for a section or make up for a mistake and do some combination that they've just never done before just to get back into the rhythm. And the ability to do that just because you need to is incredible. And then you go to the bigger level we were talking about last week, you know, the stewable type sections where doing something in the middle of a race that nobody's ever even thought about, it's definitely faster. And it's to be able to pull it out, you know, Stewart used to do that a lot. Lawrence, Jet Lawrence does that sometimes. Occasionally you'll see, I don't know, Sexton or somebody do that. Just pull it out because they know it's faster or they think it's faster. And they have the speed and ability to judge something that they haven't even, maybe they must have thought about it at some points. But to just do it in the middle of a race, the consequences are so high. Not to mention the position and money and what you get, but maybe I make it. Maybe this is the end of my race.
Yeah, I could die.
Die. We're all lit.
Yeah. I remember a race. I don't remember where it was. I was there live. I think it was, man, it might have been Daytona, but it was Wyndham. He was racing Stewart. It was kind of towards the end of Wyndham's career, and Stewart did these crazy combinations, and Wyndham was right on, and he just started doing it too. They both pulled out this crazy, and you're just, holy shit!
Was that was on when Stewart was on Yamahas?
I think so. Yeah. I just remember it was a crazy battle with Wyndham.
Sure,
which was rare. Sure. It was a rare thing, but that race, Wyndham was on it and just hauling out. It was one of Wyndham's.
Not the one where not when he crashed.
I think he did end up crashing.
Oh, okay, I was at that race. Yeah, and then he crashed because he tried scrubbing a triple. And
was that our Uncle X days?
That was my Supercross.com, my short-lived Supercross.com days.
I was working for Racer X then because that's the only time I went to those Supercross races was with Racer X. So I must have been working with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you at that race too?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Why didn't you say hi?
I probably didn't like you. I remember that. I don't remember what the jump was or anything. I just remember Stewart doing it, then Wyndham doing it. When Wyndham did it, the crowd was just going insane because he was just pushing it to this level that was so crazy, you know. And it was like, my God.
He was right on Stewart. That was when it was. Yeah. I remember that because he was pushing. I think it was just like heat too. It wasn't even the main.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. I remember he started catching Stewart, and then he scrubbed that triple, and I think his foot peg scraped off of the base of the triple, and that was one of those where it was like, you're a little too old school to be trying to scrub that. I know you're not that much older than Stuart, but you're old enough. You don't do it. Just do your thing. That's scrubbing is his thing. And let's start because I think that was his last. I think that was his last actual race that he finished. Or sorry, not that he didn't even finish it. I think that may have been his because he raced. That was the end of his season, and that was the year that he was doing all those crazy transfers and everything.
Transfers, yeah.
And then I think he signed up to do the next season, and I think he only did maybe the first two. And I don't even know if he finished them, or I don't even know if he had ever actually ended up racing in them. But yeah, it was kind of a bummer because it's a crappy way to go for such an amazing career to have your last race be to crash out of it. That's the way I thought, it was going to end up for Tomac. That's the way it is the way it ended up for Philip Poto as well.
Yeah, and his was like a loop out, It was the lamest crash ever,
The lamest, right? He broke his butt. That was the
Speaking of Wyndham's transfers, that was one of the coolest times of the sport because that was so rad. I mean, the racing was really good, but just as a fan, and I was lucky enough to be at every single one of those Supercross races.
Yeah.
And just my favorite part was, oh my God, what's Wyndham going to do this time,
Yeah.
And I think it was just so fun.
Oh, it was amazing. I think it was Houston or Dallas. He had I think it was 120 feet. It was crazy. The photographer that was working for supercross.com at the time, Gerald Geronimo. Do you remember him?
No.
Short guy, nice, super subdued guy, but he was a really good photographer. And he got this sequence shot of Wyndham doing, I think, that huge jump. It's just an amazing shot. But yeah, him just eyeing those up. He had, I think, the last couple he kind of screwed up.
I remember facing one really bad. It was oh my God.
Yeah. Like I think it's yeah, I mean, it just showed his ability and all of that, being able to just pull something out of nowhere. He was just there aren't that many talents that can just eye something and know exactly how to hit it off of sometimes he was hitting the side of the face of a jump or something like that, or hitting it backwards. Crazy.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah. I was lucky enough that one year for outdoors, he raced a 250, a Geico 250.
He was at Unadilla.
I was just, oh man, this guy, he's going to race to the 250 class. And he didn't do great, but he didn't do terrible either.
I think he ran top 10 for a while. I think he ended up 8th, at least in a moto or something. Yeah.
Which is crazy because those kids just rip, and I think he was, I'm not sure. I think he wasn't racing that year, obviously, or he would have, and he just came, and I feel like he's so good that even to this day could probably hop on there and go out there and qualify for a race, if he put any effort into it, So,
if he put in just, especially, if he just put in minimal effort, he could still qualify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The crowd would go crazy.
What's that?
And the crowd would just love it,
the crowd would love it. The crowd would go nuts. Yeah, that would be amazing if he tried. Well, he did the nations with Pastrana. What was that? Pastrana and Ryan Sipes a few years ago.
That was so awesome.
I mean, they had no chance of doing anything, but all the fanboys out there were just loving every second.
I loved it because Pastrana his knees were just swollen 10 times the size they should have been. Screw it, I'll just do it, And at that time, it was CBD was just coming around, and he was just, I'm rubbing a bunch of CBD cream on it. And now everybody knows that shit don't even work.
Yeah, that's great. He never wore knee braces ever.
Pastrana?
Pastrana. Yeah, he just wore pads, which for, doing everything he did, I can't believe you see his body now.
Yeah.
I mean, he walks around like he's maybe 70 at best. His body is like so broken.
Oh, God.
Have you seen an X-ray of him, of his body? There's a full, I gotta find it. There's maybe it's AI, but I don't think it is. It's like the X-ray of Wolverine. Everything is just this metal crafted on everywhere.
Yeah, I watched the interview where he's naming all the stuff that he's broke.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
geez,
no,
man,
it's real. Yeah, you gotta look it up. It's here. I'll hold it up. Let's see. Is that a good one?
But even with his body like that, he'll still go out and send a front flip or a back
Oh
flip.
yeah,
You're
no
just
problem. No problem. Look at that. Do you see that?
Like, oh, jeez. Oh, man, look at his hips. Oh, God.
Look at that. It's just crazy.
Both fingers.
Everything, even his neck, everywhere. It's just, man.
Oh, God.
But yeah. Those top talents are just incredible. All right, let's. You want to talk about 450s?
Sure.
Did we cover that already?
We've been talking a little bit of both, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess we did. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I guess we already did. Yeah, I thought I had Hunter for the win, but I think he's gonna challenge for the championship. I think he'll be there at the end.
I think the thing about Hunter Lawrence is that he's going to be in the top 3 all season long. He's going to he is one of the top guys. He's just missing the aggression, but other than that, he's just he's so consistent, so smooth. Just like his brother, when they're hauling ass, it doesn't even seem like they are. They're just,
that's the
so
thing.
natural to them.
Totally. Yeah, it does not look like. I think I would say even more than his brother. When Hunter is going fast, you would not think he's going as fast as he is. I think Jet, his style's a little bit more exaggerated because he's taller, I guess. So the way he'll lean over the bike and kind of move around on the bike a little bit more, when he's really moving, there are times where it's incredible. But Hunter's right there with him most of the time, and he's hanging with all these guys as well. And yeah, I think he'll be there at the end. But yeah, individual race wins, he'll get one. He's gonna get one.
Yeah,
I think the cards have to align, or I think the stars have to align a little bit more, not like they do for somebody Plessinger or Stewart or something. I think he's consistently up there a little bit more. So I think it won't be luck as much, but it has to be the right conditions still.
Yeah, I mean, when you're rolling around in second most of the time consistently, I mean, Sexton's bound to tuck the front tires.
It'll be all right. Oh, Sexton's in first? All right, I got this. I want Sexton in front of me.
Yeah. Well, last year in outdoors, when it was Jet basically winning every race and then Hunter was in second every race, I would watch those races and it looked like they were barely going. It was like, how are these guys 40 seconds ahead of everybody? It looks like they're barely even going, but it's just really weird compared to somebody like, let's say, Barsha. When Barsha's hauling ass, it looks like he's hauling ass. I mean, you're like, holy shit, look at it. Or Jason Anderson, they look like they're going Mach 1.
That's humanly possible to go. Yeah. It's true. Yeah, they're just so smooth, like the way. I mean, Hunter does the same thing, but yeah, it's. Jet just gets more screen time, so you see it more. His ability to just time things just so perfectly. He finds lines that are just, one thing you don't even realize they're there, and like little combos, even on braking bumps and that type of thing. But yeah, they're so smooth, and consistent with being smooth. So it just adds up, a second, half a second per lap, it adds up over time. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think Hunter will be there at the end. Hopefully Jet can come back for outdoors.
I saw a video of Jet recently just walking, and he's pretty jacked up. I mean, whatever he did, it was not like I would be surprised. I mean, I think he will be for outdoors, but he's not. I can't imagine him being 100% at the beginning of outdoors. He looks pretty, like his leg is super small. He's lost a lot of muscle in the Hercules
already.
Because he's rolling around on the cart. He's got one of those little, put one leg on your cart. I mean, he's on that most of the time, and they didn't talk too much about what happened and all that, because that's just how moto is. But I think he hurt himself pretty bad.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. I thought he had surgery pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, I think so. But he's definitely, considering it's February, May is when outdoor starts. I highly doubt that I'd be surprised to see him at the first round. And if he is at the first round, he is not going to be the dominant jet right off the bat. There's no way. I could be wrong, but from what I saw, just his walking, he's got whatever that injury is pretty hefty.
Well, let's see. He's 3 months.
3 months.
3 months, 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the extent of the injury is, but he's young. I think he'll recover pretty quickly. Again, with Supercross, Jet not being in top form or not being there, I think is better for racing. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back. If he's riding within the next 2 months, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. But it doesn't look at this point he's going to be riding anytime soon. That's for sure.
Yeah, sure. Should we introduce ourselves?
Go ahead. You go first so I can see what you mean.
Well, no, why are we even doing this?
All right. Well, I'll go a little bit and just, you can edit as needed.
Yeah.
But so my start into moto was Pilo, the OGO guy. A lot of people know Pilo. He took me out on my first dirt bike. I was kind of a quad nerd. I was blazing the dunes on my Banshee.
Pat Lopez.
Lopez.
Yeah.
Pilo,
Yeah.
And probably, he let me use his RM 250, 1994 RM 250, and he took me out to Lake Elsinore, and I didn't know anything about dirt bikes or how to ride a dirt bike. And probably my second jump, I did a sky wheelie, bailed off the bike, twisted my ankle, and I got back on and did it again. And we ended up out, and I thought it was so cool that I could do a 1-footer. So I was doing this jump and doing a 1-footer over and over again. And they're obviously, now I know, and they're probably thought, look at this guy, what a dork, And but it hooked me. It got me really hooked on moto. And at that time, he was working for Trans World, and he invited me to go race a race, and we did a day in the dirt. My first ever race was a day in the dirt at LACR. And
that was your first race. I didn't know that.
First race ever. And then the whole weekend, just if anybody's ever done day in the dirt, it's a dangerous race for sure, because they got a lot of fast guys and slow guys on the track at the same time. But the vibe of that race, and I don't know if it's still the same, but then was so awesome. It got me hooked on moto. In fact, I had my first run in. Andrew Short was racing. He blazed by me. His jersey hooked my handlebars, and I ate shit and broke my wrist in the coup de grace, the big long race at the end. And
Andrew Short broke your wrist at your very first race.
Yeah. And but the weekend was so fun that from that point on, I raced every whip chance I could get. I just loved it. I hung out, I just got in with the Trans World guys. That's kind of how I met you, and how I met most of my moto guys. And my claim to fame was I was a really good shit talker. I would talk shit, even though I was the opposite of Deegan. I could talk shit good. I just couldn't necessarily back it up. But one race, Pilo, Pat Lopez, and Don, they were always in the same class. And before a race, I really was talking shit to Don, like, oh man, Pilo's gonna smoke you in this race. And so Don went out there, and in the first turn hits one of those big tractor tires and almost breaks his neck and knocks him out cold. And so they ended up writing a little article on me in Transworld, and gave me the nickname the Ladle, because I'm always stirring the pot. And then eventually Transworld hired me as I sold subscriptions at all the races. So for 3 years, I went to every single outdoor national and just sold subscriptions and just really got in the industry was when he just doing it all the time, meeting everybody. I traveled with this kind of dorky guy, Kyle Cowling, and we would always travel together. And I remember the first season, we didn't have
Kyle was,
smartphones.
he was an editor in Transworld.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the first season, we didn't have smartphones, so we would print out, on MapQuest, the maps to get to these tracks. And if you've ever been to some of these tracks, they're in the middle of nowhere. Like every outdoor national track is places you would never, they're just out there. And I remember it just being a super fun time. And later I ended up working for Racer X, which was super rad because I got to go to, they did they sold subscriptions at the Supercross races, so I got to go to every Supercross race for 2 seasons, and that was obviously incredible to be able to go to all those races as a fan of the sport, to be able to see every race. It was just a pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
But I always love moto. I still love moto now. I don't get out and race like I used to. I would, and if I ever did a race again, I'd go race a day in the dirt just for the memories and I just love. I raced it a lot of times after my first one, and every time was just a super good time. And I would just, if I was gonna do it again, that's what I would go and do.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty good little ladle history. I don't know if I'll go that deep, but I'm a lifelong moto fan. I grew up in New Jersey, super far away from the heart of motocross, but saw some clips of I think Damon Bradshaw and Jean-Michel Bayo racing at the LA Supercross way back, like 89 or 90 or something. I just thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And back then it was really hard to get any info on moto at all, period. And, so I just think when you just get that little hint of something and you are interested in it, you just want to keep digging. But this is, pre-internet really. And so I just got it just made me want it more and more and more. And I just every little bit of information I could find out about moto, I did. One of my friends growing up owned a motorcycle shop, East Coast Kawasaki, Suzuki Polaris in New Jersey. It's defunct now, but that was really my only real into anything moto related. And then slowly started getting into it a little bit more and more. And, eventually got a little dirt bike, a little mini bike and all that. And eventually did my first race when I was in high school on a CR 125. And I was hooked. I was into motocross and supercross and I followed all the racing and stuff, but it wasn't until I actually raced. It's kind of the same thing as you, Jake. That first race, I was so bad. I was so horrible. I think I went 29 and 29 for 29th overall. Sleepy Hollow race, Sleepy Hollow motocross in Pennsylvania. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I just loved it. I just thought it was so great. I could barely get over any jumps. And then, from that point on, I raced as much as I possibly could. And eventually, actually, bringing the connection to Jake here, I ended up teaching motocross schools for the Tony DeStefano motocross schools, sponsored by Suzuki back in, the 2000s, early 2000s, and did that for a while. I did it for a whole year. And then I was in college and it was my summer job. And then and then I was doing it here and there and ended up going to teaching a school at Glen Helen one year, I think 2008. And Chris Kinman was there with Kobe Aziri, because I think Kobe was working for Suzuki at the time. And Chris Kinman was working at Transworld. And I had kind of been interested I wanted to be an editor. I wanted to work for a magazine. And made the connection there. And I think Chris ended up connecting me with Don Maeda at Transworld. And, eventually got, an interview. And I think I met you at Racetown at my kind of, I guess that was my interview, intro, whatever, tryouts. It was like a ride day at Racetown. And then ended up working at Transworld for a bit. And that's where I met you and Pilo and went to all the races for a long time. And just, there's different levels of your involvement in the sport. And that is a very fun one. It's being very interesting one is being, an editor and journalist, and seeing the sport. You get to see the sport from many different sides, from getting to try out products to interviewing riders to, writing articles, and kind of get to be a little bit of a voice of the sport. But I think those days I don't know if that is as much of a thing now in that way. But I've enjoyed all aspects of racing and motocross and supercross and the whole atmosphere of the sports. And fortunately met Jake along the way. And, we've stayed in touch since then. We ended up working together at a place called Transworld, and then a place called locox.com, which was, not only, had a super offensive, mascot.
34 chairs.
Which I'm just, I can't believe that place. But, it was just a fun experience. We got to travel a little bit together, and we've stayed in touch since then. Right. And we're, I don't know, 15 years into this now. And Jake now lives back near his hometown in Eugene, Oregon. And I recently moved to Hong Kong with my family, with my wife and my son here. And can't talk moto with anybody here. There's not a whole lot of motocross going on. There is one track nearby, but there's not a whole lot of motocross going on. So we got on a text chain, I think, with you and Kilo and a few other buddies. And I just kind of had the idea, why don't we make this a regular thing and actually talk moto a little bit? That's how this kind of all got started. So we'll see where it goes from here. But it's nice to so far hop on a call 2 weeks, 3 weeks now running, and get to talk shit about moto. Great.
Yeah, for sure. Because for me, my moto involvement all happened before my family and kids. But I have so much it was honestly some of my best memories in life are moto related. With you, I have some fun nights with Bayo, like Mammoth. One time we were at Mammoth, and at the time, FMF released an energy drink, and we went to the release party for it, and it was all you could drink FMF energy drinks.
I have to edit this out.
But it was a great night. It was a wild night.
It was a wild night.
I remember, what's funny about that is that we got a ride back to our hotel from a forest ranger, and I don't know how that happened.
I'm going to be honest, I don't even remember.
But it was kind of cool. One cool thing about that is that we were staying in a condo with Kurt from PSD, and PSD was nothing then. And he actually turned that company into a huge, multi-million-dollar company. And I think a lot of it was because he hung out with me and Bayo.
He was like, I know exactly what not to do.
We got to get away from me. I do not want to share a condo with those guys again.
I need to do better.
I got a question for you.
I think Kurt would be a great person to have. I'd love to talk with him for a long time. But yeah, to have came from some pretty humble beginnings, and they've done very well for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. What out of curiosity, what was the first pro race you ever went to?
First pro race was Budds Creek, 1998. Carmichael was still in 125s. That was his second year in 125s. He was just absolutely crushing it then. I'm pretty sure he went 1-1 that day. Jimmy Button was on a 125 back then. Yeah, it was 98. So he was on a Chaparral YZ 125. And I'd never really paid that close attention to him. He was number 11, O'Neill gear. And I just remember, because I was tall and he was super lanky and tall. So I remember watching the way he rode. And he was one of the first riders I really noticed how much he moved around on the bike. He wasn't scrubbing yet. That wasn't really a thing yet. But the way he would ride he would he used his body as leverage on the bike, and I'd just never seen anybody ride like that. So I remember watching him that day. And then in the 250s at the time, that was the first race that Doug Henry, the first race that he won, first overall that he won after his big crash at the same exact track in 95. And then he crashed, he broke his back there in 95. Then in 97, Yamaha had him there on the YZ M400 prototype bike, and he broke both of his arms also at the same track. I think the bike bogged or something on the face of a jump, or he went over the bar. I don't know what it was, but he broke both of his arms there. And then that next year, 98, he won. I think he went 1-1, won the overall, and ended up winning the championship that year. That was cool. Doug Henry, I wasn't crazy excited about him as a rider, but his story and everything was always really inspirational. But just seeing, if anybody that's watching this has never seen a race in person, it is so different from seeing it on TV. One, there's, if it's motocross, the elevation changes, the weather, and the way the track changes, and watching the riders, it's not how fast they're going, just overall. It's watching these little things that they do that just blow you away. Now you can see a lot of what they do, on the internet and on Instagram or whatever. But those little bits, you'll see them do something in a corner that it will just blow you away. The way they'll make a new line out of nothing, or correct in midair from something that you thought they were definitely going to crash off of. That race in particular, I remember watching Stefan Riccata. He was on Honda of Troy at the time. A lot of guys were doing it, but I remember him specifically. And this is when I was first really learning how to ride and race, how they would be full gas before they would hit the ground again. They would go over a tabletop or something, and they would be just absolutely pinned before they ever even hit the ground again, and drive to the next corner, and you'd see the roosts kick up as soon as they landed. That was something I didn't know to do before that. I didn't know that was something riders did. I saw everybody doing it. I was like, oh, okay, I have to start hitting the gas in midair, I guess. Those little things, it was such an eye-opener. It was definitely a great experience. Then I went with my buddy, Justin Stiles, who you know.
Oh, yeah.
He and his dad had bought an old ambulance at an auction for $500 and fixed it up. And that was our race rig. And we went to all these races. Probably, I don't know, race quite as often as we could, maybe once every other weekend or something like that for a good part of the year. And that was one of my favorite years, just one of my favorite experiences. I just had so many good memories going to the races with them. We were both just so bad. We're so bad. I think we started getting better that year. We did. We had a buddy's track that we could practice at. Actually, Brian Wallace, who now runs Lake Elsinore, his parents had a track in New Jersey in their backyard. That was a pretty legit spot. And then we rode there a bunch and started getting better. But yeah, that was just a great, really fun year of riding and racing, and yeah, going to my first pro race. How about you?
My first pro race, I'd say it was in 2002-ish, and it was at Glen Helen, which, I didn't know how awesome Glen Helen was. I didn't even know where I was going. I was just with Pat Pilo, and, we went there, and I didn't know any riders. I knew nobody. I wasn't really I had just started riding dirt bikes, and I wasn't really into the racing part of it at all. So I didn't know anybody. I just remember, all I really remember from it was I was cheering for Sean Hamlin. And I think it was because he was number 16, and I always raced go-karts as a younger kid, and I was always number 16. And I'm not positive. I think he might have been number 16, but I just
I don't know if you ever got up to number 16, but I'll give it to you.
It could have been 116 too. I don't know.
Okay.
But for some reason, it was Sean Hamlin who I chose to cheer for.
Okay.
I drank a lot of beers that day. I took my shirt off and I'd left it off for the whole day, and I left there purple, like beyond red with sunburn. I was purple. People were telling me, dude, you need to put your shirt on. I was really drunk. Nah, fine. I remember I was peeling. My skin was peeling for 2 months after that race. I got so sunburned, but it was a really good time. And then, I just loved every minute of it. The crowd was crazy, and watching people charge down those riders charging down the hills with all those braking bumps, just hauling ass, and it was just incredible. It was crazy. It was just something you said, if you haven't seen a race in real life, do it. It'll blow your mind.
Absolutely.
Supercross, going outdoors.
Yeah. I think that it's got it more than more sports. I think motocross is unique because it is an incredibly dangerous and fast, exhilarating sport that anybody can go out and do. You just buy, you get a bike, old bike, new bike, doesn't matter. And you can go out. If there's a track, you can go out and give it a try yourself. And, seeing, versus how many people have ever actually been on, a Formula One type track or even in a Formula One car? There's just not, you don't have the opportunity to do that or any other form of racing. It's not that participatory. You don't have that many opportunities to do it. But motocross is something that you can go, especially, in Southern California and some of the other hot spots. You can be on the same track at the same time. You got taken out by Andrew Short. He's one of the best riders ever. He almost killed you in your first race.
I probably came over. I probably was cutting across the track, because Pilo really threw me into it. We're racing. I just did it, but I didn't really know the rules. I was just going for it. I was terrible. Could not have been any worse on a dirt bike. And I was out there racing with all these people. And,
I mean, that's the great thing about it, is that you can be on the same track with some of the best riders to ever do it. It feels so communal, especially, Day in the Dirt. Feels so communal in that way. It's like everybody's kind of doing it together. And then you go through a section and there's no way nobody could ever go faster than I just went through that section as like a novice. And then you see somebody just absolutely hauling ass through it. Like watching Josh Grant at Glen Helen is just unbelievable. Any pro rider charging down those hills, there is no speed that I have ever gone that even comes remotely close to what they've accomplished. And I have gone down those hills myself and thought I am going to die because I'm going so fast.
Oh yeah.
But if you see it on video, you're like, that's me? No, that's not me. Yeah. That's a novice. Oh, I see.
Yeah, the first time I realized how slow I was when I got my first GoPro and I watched the footage. I'm like, wait a second. That isn't right. I was going way faster than that. What's wrong with this camera? I think I switched cameras with Chris Kinman. Give me my camera back. But yeah, I never raced a race that I didn't have a good time at. I mean, every time it was fun for me. And I was blessed to be into moto while living in Southern California in the peak of it when there was so many tracks, so many tracks. And I know a lot of them now have closed down, but I had Milestone, Star West, Paris, Lake Elsinore, Racetown 395, LACR, Cohia, all those tracks. And the race series always raced it. So I had a cush job at that time. I worked in the mornings. I was off at 10 o'clock. And so I could go practice. I rode so much. And with moto, the more you ride, the better you get. And I did some stuff now. I wish I had videos of it, so I could show my kids me jumping that jump at Racetown. I'd love to have video of that. I don't, but I have the memories. But it was some of the stuff I'd say probably my proudest time racing was I'd raced, I think it was Star West, and Star West is a really peaky, jumpy track, and I wasn't really into jumping. I just wasn't very comfortable at it, but I did 95% of the jumps during that day, and it felt so cool. I mean, it just felt like, oh my God, that was so rad, and it's just a feeling. Even to this day, you just can't. I couldn't get that any other way
Yeah.
than getting on a dirt bike again and doing it again. There's nothing.
It's true. Yeah, no, I feel most of the activities I do are really just in attempts to get that feeling again. And you can get close, I think mountain biking has its moments. Snowboarding for me as well has its moments, but the ability to just circle a track and just keep going and just trying that same jump over and over again and just trying to get into that rhythm it's this combination of the thrill, and it's like this very rhythmic thing where you just feel in tune with your body, with the bike, with the track, with the, all the conditions. And that moment when you're in midair and you've timed that jump perfectly and you're just going to land it, it's going to be smooth, and it's just, there's no better feeling. It's just so fleeting. You're in the air for maybe a second at the most. If you're in the air for 2 seconds, that's a big jump. And
Yeah.
I've not done that many times, if ever. So it's this very fleeting thing, but it's just it's such a great feeling. And it's just, yeah. And then the camaraderie of just being at the track and just talking shit in the pits, and that's where your namesake comes from. It's always being able to talk a big game and never back it up is one of the best parts of it.
For sure. I know when I raced, I would always buy race fuel. It's like, well, I'm going racing, but it's like the last person that needed race fuel at the track was me, but I always had it. I was always running it.
Some BP, some
Oh,
103, 105.
Give me 5 gallons of that race fuel. I'm going racing.
Yeah. I'll sure. $20 a gallon, no problem.
Yeah, whatever.
Worth it. Well, right on, man. I think this is a good one.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll get some good clips out of this too. But I think we could try bringing on a guest maybe next time, or maybe hammer another one out and then try to get somebody.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have a few options that could happen. So
yeah, I feel like we'll probably get 20 more guests before we ever have Pilo.
It'd be fun to have Pilo because he's as moto as it gets. He's a lifer. He'll never do anything but moto for the rest of his life because that's just who he is.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
But he's a hard guy to get locked down.
Elusive.
But yeah, we got lots of friends just that we mutually know from moto, and it'd be a good time for sure.
All right, that was our first episode of Two Spodes. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed recording it. It was a little rough, but it's our first go, so hopefully it will improve. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and Instagram and on Spotify. Instagram is Two Spodes. It's all Two Spodes. Two Spodes everywhere. And hopefully we'll have some more fun episodes for you, and ask us some questions, send in some requests. We'll try to do whatever. We don't know how this is going to go. Look forward to seeing you again next time. All right, that was our first episode of Two Spodes. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed recording it. It was a little rough, but it's our first go, so hopefully it will improve. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and Instagram and on Spotify. Instagram is Two Spodes. It's all Two Spodes. Two Spodes everywhere. And hopefully we'll have some more fun episodes for you, and ask us some questions, send in some requests. We'll try to do whatever. We don't know how this is going to go. Look forward to seeing you again next time.